It is 100.4 FM, Radio 786, and the show is Reflections for Spiritual, Personal, and Financial Development. And you are under the spotlight on Radio 786. And before we cross over to Sheikh Muhammad Hobe Hoca, we are actually bringing you an unforgettable adventure for you and your kids. It is the Local is Lekker Month and special at the Table Mountain Cableway, an opportunity to experience our very own new 7 wonders of nature. Now, from the 26th of May to the 1st of June, 23rd to the 29th of June 2025, locals pay only 250 rands per adult and 100 rands per child. There are limited tickets online, of course, so buy yours today. You just need your SA ID that's going to be required, and you can also check out the Local is Lekker restaurant specials too. For more information, visit tablemountain.net. And continuing with our Under the Spotlight, this evening we journey into the world of sacred art, one shaped by silence, precision, and centuries of tradition. Our guest is Sheikh Muhammad Hobe Hoca, South Africa's first traditionally trained and ijaza holding Islamic calligrapher. Now, from Transkei to Istanbul, his story is urged not only in ink but in devotion to the Quran, to sacred beauty, and to a form of worship expressed through the pen. Trained under the legendary Sheikh Hassan, and Sheikh Muhammad has become a bridge between worlds, carrying the refined elegance of classical scripts across continents and generation. Ahead of his talk hosted by the Deen Arts Foundation, we speak to him about his artistic and spiritual path and the deeper meanings hidden within the curves of every letter. Sheikh Muhammad, assalamu alaikum and welcome to Reflections.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Thank you for the interview. Thank you. I feel very honored.
Sheikh, your journey spans from the Eastern Cape to Istanbul. Can you walk us through how your path to Islamic calligraphy first began?
Okay, first of all, that Hoca is not Hoca. It's Hoca. It's Hoca, which is a Turkish term for teacher.
Ah, okay. Noted.
I think you read it in Zulu.
Noted.
So anyway, I studied in Mias Farm 1994. First of all, I'm from the Eastern Cape. I was born in the Eastern Cape, grew up in Johannesburg because my father moved to Eastern Cape to work, and then we became Muslim in 1991. In 1992, we went to madrasa in the Eastern area in Nigel, Mackenzieville. That is where I did my basic Quran and the basic Islamic education. Then from there, the community decided to send me to Mias Farm to become a Hafiz. So I went to Mias Farm. I did school and Hafiz all together from 94 until 2000. That's when I finished my Hifz in high school. And after finishing the school, my teacher, Maulana Ibrahim Mia, said I should study some Arabic. And then on Fridays, we used to have our khutbah lessons where we used to write the ahadith and the Quranic verses on a notebook and recite it to him the following Friday. So he saw my handwriting and he said, "You've got a good hand." So that is how he started me off. He called me to the office, he gave me bamboo, some ink, and he told me to practice some alifs and bars, and that is how my journey in calligraphy started.
Mm-hmm. And was there a pivotal moment in your early life when you realized that this path wasn't just an art form but a calling?
Well, before that, I didn't know there was anything called Islamic calligraphy or calligraphy for that matter, like in Arabic. I used to think we do this with a computer. So when I started, the first time I had a pen in my hand, and I just fell in love with it. And I used to practice for hours and hours. But then the thing is, I used to practice without a qualified teacher, so I was not actually improving, which is why Maulana Ibrahim Mia decided. Few years after that, he said, "No, we should send you to Turkey to study under the master calligrapher Hassan Chalabi." So that is how my journey began, and that is how I started to do this professionally.
And how did the family or your and the community, in fact, react when you chose to pursue Islamic calligraphy in a serious and more traditional way?
Well, before that, my mother and father didn't really understand what I was doing. They used to say, "No, you should do your matric. You should carry on with this. You did your Hifz now." So, but now, whenever I speak to my mother, she always laughs and say, "No, Allah had a bigger plan for you." I always think of when I used to force you while sitting in a dining room telling you about matric. But now I see that Allah had a bigger and a better plan for you. So they didn't really understand it back then. But
And
anyway, they supported me and sent me to Turkey.
yes, yes. And would you say you actually discovered some inner qualities, or you have developed some inner qualities during your years of training and your patience and discipline, and sort of your journey towards calligraphy?
Well, I think whether I like it or not, calligraphy is going to teach you some patience, some discipline, some humility as well, because you write this thing for hours and hours, and while you are not, if you are not getting it right, then the teacher will tell you to write it again and again and again. It sort of develops your character in many ways. Just not just not just that patience, but discipline, adab as well.
And many know Istanbul as the heart of Islamic art. What is it like training in such a spiritually rich environment under Master Hassan Sharabi?
Well, first of all, Hassan Chelebi was like a father to us, or like a grandfather. He was very understanding. He used to teach us with love and patience. So from him, I learned a lot of patience. And he was a very humble man. And he was very disciplined. He used to wake up like after Fajr, that is when he used to work, until his last days, until when he got ill. He used to always wake up after Fajr and sit up. He never used to sleep. So those are the things we learned from him. And then at the same time, there are some senior students of his who are also teachers who helped a lot. So whenever you are not getting anything, you can go and consult with them and they will help you. So that environment is very healthy, and it helps one to develop as a full calligrapher because of the help and the calligraphers around us.
And what would your daily practice look like when you were in Istanbul? Is there a ritual or routine that helps you center before writing?
Well, while I was a student, before getting my ijazah, I used to write for hours and hours, sometimes 10 hours or more, because I only went to study calligraphy, nothing else. But I used to usually sit after Isha. That is when I used to be most productive, and I would write until the early hours, sometimes of the morning. So that was my daily routine.
And what role would you say silence plays in your creative process?
Well, when everybody is sleeping, when the world is quiet, then you don't even see the time passing by. So that silence is very important because nothing disturbs you. It's just you and the pen and the paper.
And
so it's very... Sorry, yes.
Yes, and speaking of Sheikh, can you maybe also, sort of lay down for us or explain to us the physicality of calligraphy, in terms of the relationship between the hand, the eye, and even to such extent your breath also.
So before, we all used to think, like, before starting the journey, we used to think calligraphy is just about taking a pen and writing, but it's more than that. When I went to Turkey, I realized that it's not just about writing, but first of all, you have to get the proportions of the letters. And alif is measured, all letters are measured with dots. So a bar, the inside of the bar should be the length of 5 dots, according to the size of the pen you're using, of course. So, and then after learning the proportions of the letters, then you have to know about the balance of the letters, the balance of the line. When you are making a composition, it has to be well balanced. So we learn all this as we go with time. So it's a long process, but at the end of the day, we learn it, alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. And Sheikh, why do you think Islamic calligraphy has remained such a revered art form, even in today's digital world?
Calligraphy, like Arabic calligraphy or Islamic calligraphy, is a timeless art, even in times when there's technology, because it connects people to their faith. First of all, it allows people to deepen their connection to the Quran by learning each letter. It's also associated with character development, not just with technical skills. And I hope that answered it.
Yes, and also looking at the time that we're in, of constant speed and scrolling, whether it be on social media or other than that, What can the discipline of calligraphy teach us about stillness, intention, and connection?
I think with regard to stillness, because first of all, calligraphy requires focus and attention to detail, encouraging us to slow down and be present in the moment. So in the busy time that we are living, this is very important for our well-being. And then with patience, mastering calligraphy takes a long time and lots of practice, which teaches us the value of patience and persistence. And it's also often created with specific purpose or message in mind, encouraging us to think carefully about our intentions. So in a world dominated by such technologies and stuff, I think calligraphy offers a refreshing contrast, encouraging us to slow down, to focus and appreciate the beauty of language and art.
And Sheikh, in a time where, looking at the intention now, in a time where the ego can easily attach itself to creativity, how do you manage to keep your intentions pure when creating or displaying your art?
I think personally, what I would do, like first of all, most of the time I will first seek Allah's help. I will perform ablution and ask Allah's help when I start a composition or new work. And then I'll ask my seniors or my teachers around. I will show them what I have done. And then they will give me the feedback and tell me to move this and put it there. So I am aware that it is not all by my own doing. So maybe 70% is coming from my teachers or people who are helping me around. So I think that helps me to stay grounded.
Do you often ever experience moments of spiritual insights whilst writing, and like moments where the boundary between worship and art sort of dissolves?
I don't know that much, but I mean, for me, if I'm working on something, for example, هذا من فضل ربي, sometimes I will be working on it maybe for days or weeks. And then when it starts taking that form, that is when I become so happy then, and I praise Allah. So because it can only be from Allah that something can come up like this.
Yes.
Because there are many compositions, thousands of like Hadha min Fadli Rabbi, just that composition, it has been written 1,000 times. So when I can come up with something new, that is like a blessing from Allah. So for me, that is very spiritual.
And Sheikh, you received your ijaza in Thuluth and Naskh. Can you explain the significance of this certification in the traditional calligraphy world?
I think ijaza, first of all, it is connecting us to our teachers. It's a link or lineage, like from back, like to Hafiz Osman, like one of the very early Turkish calligraphers. So it shows that you are an authentic or a qualified calligrapher, and you are recognized with other calligraphers because you've got the certificate, which is going back in time, and people can relate with it. Like they know who's Hamid Aitash, they know who's Hassan Chelebi, and so on and so forth. So getting an ijazat is also putting me in that lineage.
And now that you're teaching students of your own, what values or habits do you hope to instill in the next generation of calligraphers?
Well, I hope that they learn the discipline, the patience, the perseverance, knowing that this is not a shortcut. I mean, some of us, I thought I would take 6 months, but it has taken me 15 years, and I'm still not a master of it. So I hope that they will understand that it is not just about writing and earning money or a living, but it is something which is done with love and passion, and it teaches us also discipline and adab and humility, etc.
And when Sheikh sort of looks or maybe sees students, what qualities do you look for in a student? Is it the skill or the sincerity, or what does Sheikh exactly look for?
Well, I don't look for any qualities. Anybody can come. I mean, that is how my teacher used to be. He passed away in February. He was 87 years old anyway. So he never used to turn anybody away. So you just come in and you show your dedication, and that you show that you love this and you want to do this properly. Because some people come and think like in 2 or 3 days, then they're calligraphers. So The student will come and discover himself, and then he himself will decide whether he wants to carry this on until the end, or they will leave it themselves, or they will continue by themselves. All they need is dedication and the love for it.
Have any of your students surprised or inspired you in ways you didn't expect?
Well, I have just started learning recently. I just started teaching, so I don't have so many students. But in the workshop I had in Cape Town, I had a student who was left-handed. She was having lots of difficulties, and she asked me, what can she do? I couldn't help. I said, look, just try, because I know some left-handed calligraphers who are very good. And then at the end of the workshop, she showed me her work she had done very well. And I asked her, look, you did it. She said, no, I struggle with my left hand, so I switched on to my right hand. She's never written anything with her right hand, but that day she did it, and it was very beautiful. It was a very surprising thing for me.
MashaAllah, MashaAllah. And Sheikh, Islamic calligraphy is often described as a form of dhikr by some people. Do you personally experience the same spiritual dimension of your craft?
Well, some of us, like, when you do your work, you are doing it with wudu, ablution, and we are writing the verses of Allah. So you could say more or less maybe it is dhikr. And when you are doing that, you are filled with tranquility and peace and ease. You know, at the middle of the night, nobody's disturbing you, just thinking about this verse you are writing. So in a way, many people could describe it as dhikr or the remembrance of Allah, because we are writing Allah's ayat or the ahadith.
And how has your South African identity influenced your work in a space traditionally dominated by Arab and Turkish artists?
Well, I haven't incorporated any Africanness into my art, if I could say that. But I went there to be also recognized as an international calligrapher. Like when I write, they shouldn't say, no, this was done just by a South African. But I want to be amongst the best and to be known that I also qualify as a South African to be on that international stage. So I'm there to represent South Africa as a highly qualified calligrapher. So they shouldn't look at me as a South African, like maybe from underprivileged, but my work should speak, and they should say, no, this is a very highly qualified calligrapher.
And Sheikh, have you seen Islamic calligraphy being reimagined or reinterpreted in a South African cultural or maybe in linguistic context?
Well, I was with a sister, her name is Widad, we were together now. She told me that she was working on some phrases where she chose certain words of the African language, like she wrote Ubuntu, but she wrote it in the Arabic calligraphy. You know, yes. So that is something which we can work on. And she said she received a lot of attention, and many people were interested that she could write Ubuntu, but in Arabic.
And that's beautiful, I'm sure. And do you think maybe African Islamic heritage has a bit of, if I could call it, for lack of a better word, underrepresented in the global sacred arts community? And how might how can that change?
Maybe it is represented, but I had a friend like from Qatar. She says Africa as a whole has been forgotten, that we played a very strong role in Islam. Like in Arabic, we've got the other arts, but calligraphy is the one which has been, which is unknown in Africa, in South Africa for that matter. So when you say, I think we're lacking the calligraphy space, which is why we need to work hard and teach and produce many calligraphers, Arabic calligraphers.
And what role do you think institutions like the Deen Arts Foundation play in preserving sacred art in modern times?
It is helping the students or those who love the art and they lack guidance to find the real teachers who can teach them professionally, and they can be properly certified, like to get ijazat in the traditional way. So Deen Arts is a guide, like to take them to the right direction, inshallah.
Inshallah. And Sheikh, I want us to look at a bit of artistic vision and the message behind the art. Do you maybe believe that sacred art has a role to play in healing, whether individually, socially, or maybe spiritually?
First of all, I'm talking about calligraphy, not all art in general. Like
Yes.
calligraphy, whether you can read it or not read it, to the eye, it's very beautiful. Like it's Arabic calligraphy for Muslims and non-Muslims. And for some people who start calligraphy, they say it's a sort of therapy for them. You know, it calms them. I heard this during the workshop. And the deliberate movements and strokes involved in Islamic calligraphy promote mindfulness, helping us to quiet our minds and focus on what is in front of us. So you might forget all your problems for that moment or for that time while you are busy with calligraphy.
MashaAllah.
So I think there are many other things, but this is just what could come to mind now.
Yes. And Sheikh, when someone stands before one of your pieces, what do you hope they feel or remember?
I just want them to look at the verse and it should speak to them. If I've written a verse, the beauty should speak to them. Like they should say, no, it is not just a thing which is created by man, but this is something from Allah, because that is what calligraphy does. Like how we can make so many compositions from just one word. We can make so many shapes. It just shows this is something from Allah, not just from us. It's just, we are just the tool, we are just using the pen, and Allah is the one who's doing this. So I'm hoping that people can reflect and see the beauty of calligraphy or the beauty of the verses of Quran just by looking at the calligraphy.
And what are your dreams for Islamic calligraphy in South Africa over the next maybe 5 to 10 years?
Well, the dream, we've been speaking the past 2 days, is to bring it back to South Africa, but with a proper training. So with this workshop, which we started now, this was just the start. So now I am working with Deen. I'm teaching the Thuluth script. So we want to bring it to all the South Africans who are interested, who want to learn this, that they should learn it the proper way, inshallah. So my dream is to bring it to South Africa, maybe open a cultural center where we can facilitate that calligraphy and the other arts like Tazhib, which is the illumination, which is around calligraphy, and all the other Islamic arts, inshallah.
Inshallah. And do you think there's room for innovation in traditional scripts, or should the innovation lie in how we use the scripts rather than alter them?
Well, first of all, the rules. If we do innovation, like composition, like creating a calligraphic piece, we make the composition, but we don't break the rules. So, like, let me give an ufawidu amri ilallah. There's about hundreds of different verses, like, which has been written that way. So that in itself is innovation, but without breaking the rules. Like, we stay within the rules, but we can make different verses and different compositions and shapes.
Yes. And lastly, Sheikh Muhammad, what advice would you give to young South Africans who feel called to sacred artistic traditions but don't know where to start?
I think first of all, the main thing is to find a teacher, a proper qualified teacher. And the other thing is to have the love and compassion for what you are doing. And the other thing is to believe that it can happen, like to trust in Allah, because I am where I am today not because of I was intelligent or it was Allah's will, because I believed and trusted, so the rest we leave to Allah. But those are the main things, like to find a teacher and have the love and compassion for it, and also to believe and go after your goals.
Sheikh, shukran so much for being with us and sharing this amazing journey of art with us. And have a good evening and good weekend going forward.
Jazakallah khair. It was an honor talking to you.
And
Thank you so much.
shukran so much. And that was Sheikh Muhammad, and he was on Another Spotlight this evening, journeying into the world of sacred art, one shaped by silence, precision, and centuries of tradition. And he is South Africa's first traditionally trained and Ijaza holding Islamic calligrapher.